Hello everyone. Thank you for your time to join us again today for our second lecture. Saya MTN Presidency 2025. Hari ini kita akan berbicara dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi nanti dalam sesi tanya jawab bagi teman-teman yang ingin berbahasa Indonesia juga dipersilakan. Nanti akan saya bantu bahasa Inggris ya, jadi tidak ada masalah. The theme of the lecture today is future of listening which will be presented by our speaker Suk-jun, a composer, sound artist, and lecturer from South Korea, currently based in Scotland, Aberdeen. Suk-jun is the author of 2 books, and his research focuses on sound studies, electroacoustic music, and the future of listening. As an internationally recognized composer, he was an artist in residence at the DWA, Artist in Berlin program, and 9. In 2023, he initiated a major project titled Future of Listening in collaboration with National Asian Culture Center in Korea. Between 2024 and 2026, he served as the principal investigator for Future of Listening, Water Knowledge from 2 cities, funded by this academy. And for this lecture today, Jun will share his work about the Future of Listening project, a project that views listening as a complex platform where multiple forces compete for control over what, how, and for whom sound is heard. This research seeks to investigate the act of listening, to reflect on our listening attitude from the past and present and their context, while also imagining how we might listen in the future. So just like yesterday, we have 2 hours for this session, but I think that we will dedicate most of the time for Jun to present this lecture comprehensively, and then after that we will come to the session of Q&A. So Jun, please.
Hello. I see it for the introduction, and I'm speaking in English, and I hope that most of you, not most, hope we can hope for the best. So all of you can understand what I'm saying in English. And I will also try to speak slowly as possible. But then again, because some topics I'm quite passionate about some topics, and when I'm passionate about something, I run. So I go fast. So if any of you would like to stop me, please stop me for a while. Jun, you are going too fast. Then I will stop, and then I will take my breath, and I will walk rather than run fast. Another thing about going slow and going fast when you give a lecture or when you give presentation. I'm sure some of you or many of you have given a public talk or public lectures to people you think that content is the biggest one that you need to prepare? But no, it's not. Content is not the biggest one. The biggest one that you need to prepare is your speed. And so as Siggy mentioned that I'm teaching at the University of Aberdeen, which is in Scotland in UK. I've been teaching there for about 12 years, and I'm still learning to give talks, lectures to students and the people, and I'm still trying to control my speed. So, let's see how I do it. Okay. Good. And setting here seems like I'm supposed to sit down and relax, which is good for me. And but I'm just curious whether you all can see me. You all can see me. Then I will try to sit through the lecture. But then again, when I'm excited, then I will get up and walk around. So when I do that, Jun get excited. Right. So thanks so much for MTN and also Critical Lab and for Lendec, also Jakarta Art Institute for inviting me to give this talk. And I also been told that this is a public lecture, meaning that anyone can join and listen to what I'm going to say. It's an honor, more than you can imagine. And when I was preparing for my lecture, my talk, I had some conundrum. Quite a lot of the talks that I'm going to talk about have already been shared with my colleagues during my project for teachers listening. So for some of you, this will be kind of Jun is repeating again. But for others, this will be kind of already new. So I wasn't quite sure where my direction will go, where's my aim. So I decided not to worry. Okay, I decided not to worry, and then see if I can talk about the issue about listening, which you will soon see that it's not as easy as it seems. So I will try to bring the issue and telling you that, see, this is very complex. This is very complicated. And there's a reason why it is so complex and complicated. As soon as you sit down and think about it. So that will be my kind of context. And you can see from the slide, the first slide, you will see my topics. Well, there's an external topic, but the title of this talk is Why Do We Need to Talk About the Future Listening? So there's a right there's an aim and objective. And then Sonic Experimentation. Now, Sonic Experimentation was the title that is given to me initially by MTN or Critical Lab. And that title was not given by me, but I thought that's an interesting one. Okay, so then I will share how I see experimentation may be. So then the next title I came up with is From Critiquing to Composing. And this is funny because the lab is critic lab. And I'm saying, no critic. Critic is no good. And instead, we need to compose it. So I'm not saying that you need to drop that your lab name. I'm just saying that there are some aspects about critiquing that is not, to me, in my mind, is not so good. So how about we think about what, when we are doing critiquing, what's going on when we are doing critiquing? Perhaps rather than doing critique, maybe we can do something else. So this is my second kind of option for my title. But then again, I went for a full-blown kind of a conundrum, a listening to nothing. So this one wait for me, and I will tell you a bit more about why I'm saying listening to nothing. All right. So the talk will go through the procedure in this way. I will briefly introduce you to the project that I've been working since 2023, and in particular from 2024 to this year, and got some extensions, so early 2026. I've been working with MTN and University, and there's another international partner who in Istanbul, Turkey. So I'll give you a brief introduction about the project. But this lecture is not about that project, but rather about more about listening. So I will talk a lot more about listening. But to get to listening, we have to go over this big obstacle called sound. So to get to listening, we have to go through sound. So I will talk about that relationship between sound and listening. And then I will talk about something called hungry listening. And then that's where I will introduce this straight notion of a listening together. And then I will, well, not and then, but throughout the lecture, I will try to stress and explicate and explain and demonstrate how this. So how this other people call method or methodology, which is a very problematic word for artists. So we will discuss this, how this, in our context. If about that hungry listening and listening to nothing, honestly, I'm not quite sure how much and how deeply we can get into right now. But let's see how we can get into it, because sometimes we can go deep, and we realize that we are in a rabbit hole. So about the rabbit hole, for those of you who have discussed with me about things, some of you will have quickly realized that when June is talking, he is going all over the place. I love this meandering. I love this rabbit hole. So whenever I think of something, of course, thinking is like going on a journey. So you have a rough idea of where to get to. So I want to think about things, so it's there. But there's no direct way. You think it's going directly, but you're going all over the place, meandering. And when you are doing this meandering, there are so many other wonderful things. So many wonderful holes or places you want to dwell on for a while. These are our rabbit holes. And when you get into the rabbit hole goes down, and you completely lose your senses, your directions. But still, you are thinking, deep thinking, completely lost in your thinking and thought. But you also know that you are in a really deep rabbit hole. So this lecture, there will be a rabbit holes. and we should be reminded of that rabbit holes. But when we are doing something and we know the objective, the main road to get there is right. This is from the Bible. The main road is broader, and there are other roads, smaller ones, where so I'm not about the Bible, but the main road is boring. It's easy, but the other roads, rabbit roads, that's where sometimes, often many times, the treasures, wonderful things happen. So let's see if we can balance. We know where to get to. Then there are many other elements, the thoughts, as much interesting and as potentially significant and decisive for the way we are going to do. So let's see if we can balance. Okay, let's start. Now I'm starting. 15 minutes past. See how I'm controlling my time? Right. So future listening started in 2003. So people you see, these are a bunch of South Korean artists with also some people from the organization called ACC. ACC is the Asia Culture Center, which is located in Gwangju, South Korea. So we started this project together in 2003. And as part of that project, we decided to do some field trip. And we thought, where should we go? And we picked Thailand and Indonesia. So myself, I think that all of them, you see, except the lady on the left side, all the others have never been to Thailand or Indonesia. So we thought, okay, what a wonderful trip we are going to make. So we went there, and so we met a wonderful people from Korea, and we did a wonderful sound box, field recording sessions, and also we did a quick trip to Chiang Mai and Bangkok. Our initial idea is to collect sound. Now the collecting sound you will see later in my lecture. This is a problematic practice, collecting sound. But because we never knew these places that we are going to, our mindset was mainly about getting to know the place, getting to know people. We have equipment. What else we could do? Let's sound. Yeah. So after that, we did a series of exhibitions. We made sound sculptures, or 2 or 3 big-size sound sculptures, and as part of our exhibition, we did a live performances. So that was 2023. Then early 2024, I did some other related projects connected to future listening, smaller project, to see if the things that I've learned from 2023 future listening, is there any other ways for us to connect and expand on from what we have learned from that early period? So the open acoustic speculations, that was from Istanbul, working with the 5 or 6 female Turkish sound artists, and with the small exhibitions on the left, on the right. Sorry, on the left is it's a project called Janna Janna. Janna Janna, for those who speak Arabic, it's the meaning is heaven or paradise. So this is a continuation of a project I've been working with the Syrian refugee communities, particular Syrian sound artist, and this one was about dreaming for the paradise. So these are all related to future listening project. But then we got in touch back with the Volunteer, and then also Ubangkuk, and we started. Sorry, with the funding of the British Academy, we started this 18-month-long project for future listening, water knowledge from cities. So we started this project from June or July last year, and we are supposed to finish it by the end of this year, but we needed more time, so we got some extension. So we will be finishing this project in April or February, depending on how much extension we get next year. So for this project, we have two wonderful international partners. And each international partner has a connection with the target community. In Jakarta, we have a community called Kalibata Pulau, and in Istanbul, there's a community called Samite. The reason why we have these two communities is because these two communities are both really apart from each other in terms of geological location, but they share one crucial problem which is connected to water. In Kalibata Pulau, flooding and sanitation or drinking water issues are a big problem. And Saitepe, they don't necessarily have the drinking water or flooding, but they do have a problem with water because there's a major governmental mega infrastructure constructions going on for Canal Istanbul. Because that project, the government needs the land, and they start keeping communities away with a cheap price. So this particular community called Saitepe is one of the communities where they are under threat of being evicted. So although not directly connected to water, water spill comes to them as a threat, connecting to this kind of project. So these are the projects we are doing, and we just opened our lovely exhibition and a TMII. I don't know how to pronounce for the Indonesian region. They are a contemporary art gallery, and we just opened this exhibition on the 1st of November. And I think part of your program, critical lab program, you are making a visit next year. So there you'll be able to see what we have been doing. So this is the project we've been working on. Now, I will briefly introduce you the aim for the future listening. Future listening. Before we start, no, that's not the right one. We already started. So if I talk about future listening, I keep saying listening rather than saying sound. It's because I'm an overwhelmed believer that listening is more important than sound. Why? I can give you many examples, but I can start with this. This is a common myth or a common mistake to think that sound connects us. No, sound do not connect us. But listening to those sounds, that will connect us. Right? So sounds, there are sounds there, but that doesn't mean that we are connected. only when we lend our ear to those sounds, then we have the possibility. This is one of the reasons why listening is way more important than sounds. But there is, so when we say deep listening, we are working on one simple question, which is, so after a couple of decades from now, what is going to happen to the ways we listen? So this question is on the premise that our listening will change. Our listening will change. Why we think that our listening will change? There are many reasons, but we can come up with a few reasons why. We see in many parts of the world where we no longer witness that people are listening to each other. So because of different belief system or different social standing or different class system or different economic standing or a different value and so on, we see that people are listening to each other. That also extended to the difficulty of listening, not only between human beings, but also listening to human beings and the non-human beings. And one of the biggest one is also has to do with the climate crisis or climate change, where this climate crisis change will definitely have opportunity. Many things disappear, which will make sound. So when they go away, sound will go away. And so that sound will not be able to listen. And while this climate crisis will also make certain things here that we haven't heard before. That means that our listening will have to continuously adapt. So the question is how our listening is going to change. And then another the phenomenon that has happened in the last 40 years, 50 years, particularly in Asia and in Africa, and where this mega cities are becoming bigger. Jakarta is a wonderful example, where people from other parts of their countries, for the better life, a better job, better education, for the future of their children, they come to the city. Cities cannot sustain itself already, but nevertheless, people come to the bigger city. So these internal migrations are taking place in many parts of the world, particularly global south. And these, of course, pose a lot of issues. And sound and the way we listen is one of the symptoms that change. So I think this is a really interesting way to look at that phenomenon through listening. And one more thing has to do with the AI, post AI. But my interest is less to do with the technology, but more to do with our ability to listen. So listening has always been a human's act, or if we expand to listening to organism, listening at least has been the act or activities of those who live. But then we know very well that for the last 50 or 60 years, gradually this thing called machines are listening to us. They have a very different objectives. For us, listening is perhaps for survival, for understanding others, and there are very human-like or organism-like kind of behavior in our listening. Machines have a completely different objective. Well, you read just say, they don't necessarily have an objective particular, but somehow they listen. And to me, this is a really interesting phenomenon. And the question is that now that the machine can listen, and they will listen more and more, what's going to happen to the way we listen? So this is if you think about it, this is an existential question. Have we take our listening element to the machine? But how? When did we give our authority of listening to machine? So this is one of the remedies. Let's start. Okay. So this how is things like I will just try to explain it to you about visual listening and also the questions and activities and so on. This is all you see this all in kind of in different shapes or shades of how this. So this how is, as I mentioned in the beginning, has connected methodology. And also I mentioned it briefly that I assume that most of you are sitting here are artists or artistic mind, or maybe some of you are sharing both hats, artists and scientists. For those who wear both hats, wonderful, more power to you. Me being a professor and then trying to always try to convince the others that what I'm doing is research. It's always in my mind is a conundrum. So I'm a composer, I'm an artist, then I have to tell the others that what I'm doing is research. They will definitely say, oh, you're doing research, so what's the objective, what's the methodology, what's the model, what's the data? These are all new to me. It's consistently new. This methodology is a huge problem for artists. So then you get to think that what the hell I'm doing when I'm doing so-called research, especially artistic research. If you take a look at yourself when you are researching, doing the artistic research, or when you observe your friends or other colleagues who are artists who are doing things, don't you find that they move like this? So this motion is called gradient motion. So this is the physical phenomenon. So when you have a cup of water, then you put in a drop of ink. And ink is packed molecules, right? And also water is also packed molecules. Ink goes in. They don't go like spreading like evenly. They don't go like this. They go like that. Motion is a gradient motion. Why do they move like that? The reason they move like that is because each molecule, they don't necessarily have a decisive direction, except maybe gravity. So gravity is only, you think about it, so gravity is the only momentum or force. Other than that, they don't have any direction or any objective. What they do is just bump each other. So here I'm sitting, I'm being patient. So I'm a molecule. My only force is gravity. So I'm being pulled. So I'm going down. But then there's another molecule, like bump. I go this way, I bump. I go this way, bump. If you look at this in the broad, objectively, then you look like you're moving, like meandering. And other people would call that as, oh, you don't have any objectives. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have any methodology because we are just meandering. Yes, yes. We artists, we meander because we don't necessarily have a decisive objective like a scientist may have. But we bump, we collide. We collide with what? We collide with other things. So this other molecule, when you see in the colliding motion, this other molecule can be other people. We collide with other people. When we meet with other people, we move. That colliding can be called touch. So touch is a whole big topics I'm not going to go into. That motion is happening all the time when you observe yourself deeply in artistic practice, or when you observe your friends or colleagues deeply in artistic research. So let's have a think about this and how we move. And that movement is what I'm doing right now. You are witnessing me moving in that direction. It's because a public lecture is like facing each one of you individually. I don't know who you are. I know some of you. But I don't know all of you. I don't know your background. I don't know what you're currently working on. I don't know what your personal problems are. But then we are bumping into each other. And you, when two people are in touch, wonderful things happen. An artist is usually people who have a big belief, equal. When we get in touch, we hope that something interesting will happen, some interesting movement will happen. That's right. Now, as I said, yes, we seem like we're moving. We seem like we're meandering, moving, but also ask questions. Is true meandering possible? Is it true meandering is ever possible? No, it's not possible. Even molecules, they seem like moving very randomly, but they do have certain forces that said the gravity is the one. For artists like us, we have other things, maybe passion. Passion about what? I don't know, but passion might be your gravity. You have a very specific goal. Say, I have my deadline. I need to submit this assignment by next week. Okay, here we go. You have your force of gravity. Now, other people might have different kind of gravity, and that will guide you. That's the only thing that will guide you. Otherwise, you will work with each other and you will make this seemingly meandering and going about, wondering, and movement. So that's what we are doing. Okay. Now, let's talk about let's talk about the sound for a bit. As I said, future listening. If you think about future listening, it sounds strange because strangely enough, not many people talk about and think about listening. But whether when we say future sound, then don't you find this one is much more understandable? Say, future sound. Oh yeah. Okay. So in the future, we will have a different sound. So for example, what are the examples? Oh yes, we will have many more electric cars. So the traffic will be less traffic. So the nation Jakarta is motorbike. That sound like dominating the whole Jakarta soundscape. So if we do have an electric motorbike, the Jakarta soundscape will completely change. See, if we think things are clear. At least it seems clear. There is a reason why when we think about instead of listening, change the listening to sound, and suddenly things are seemingly much more clear. There is a reason why it seems clear. So for the next 10 to 20 minutes, I will explain to you why we think that sound seems a bit clear when we think about it compared to listening, and why this is a big scheme. This is a great pitfall. Okay. What is sound? You can answer this question of what is sound in two ways. One is that you can explain the sound in its parity. So, 어머니, 어머니. So what I'm doing here is that I record myself a word 어머니. 어머니 is the Korean word is mother. Okay. So what did I do here? I did here is I record a sound. Then I give the visual representation. On the one hand, I'm seeing the sound as a waveform, time, amplitude, and how it sound move in time. And then on the other time, I change it into a frequency spectrum. And I want to see when I say 어머니, and what kind of frequency content that it contains. And then I'm looking at, it's the 100 hertz, 400 hertz, 400 hertz, 500 hertz, and so on. Okay, that's a sound. But we know that this is not sound. This is a representation. And many artists, like yourself, you already know that when you are taking one phenomenon, and then trying to understand it, and one way of trying to understand it is taking phenomena into some kind of mapping. This is a oral phenomena into visual mapping. When you are doing the mapping, there's always transformation happens. When the transformation happens, there's always distortion happens. So this is not sound, rather this is how we understand sound, one way of understanding sound. But this is not sound. This recording has a long history. So the sound recording is started in the late 19th centuries, and the way it works is that it takes the acoustic energy into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is written in early days in wax cylinder. Then later, the acoustic energy to mechanical energy to the magnetic tape. So this magnetic tape, where these magnetic molecules are in a certain direction, when you apply the mechanical energy, and these magnetic particles or molecules are moving in a certain direction here, like this. And that creates a different kind of waveform. So that's a magnetic tape. Now what we have is the digital, meaning that acoustic energy changing to mechanical energy, changing to voltage current, and changing to a bits of data, 10101010. Consistently changing a certain phenomenon in one domain to another domain. But regardless of the advance of technology, recording itself, the format of this the practice recording is not really true. What is that? What is the driving force of recording technology? Is that it is trying to objectify the sound, because sound is nowhere to see, as we know. The essence of sound is that because it is invisible. But we are trying to understand sound, and how we do it, we try to objectify sound. How do we objectify sound? You take it, you record sound, then put it on some kind of object. And that object, whether it is a wax cylinder or LP player, LP plate, or magnet tape, or digital storage, or MP3 file, it doesn't matter. As soon as you take it away from its place and time, and people who listen to take it away, then put it in the object. Now it seems like it's much more understandable. And we think that it's a sound, but it's not a sound. What we have done is that we have objectified the sound. But these are not the sound. We can think of sound in another way. We can think of sound in not as a object, but rather kind of borrowing the language, linguistic form. We can think of sound as a sign or meanings or symbolic system. So in 19th century, there's a North American philosopher and semiologist. His name is Charles Sanders Peirce. So he considered that any kind of science system consists of three elements. First is which is called icon, and second is the index, and third is symbol. So this icon, index, symbol seems to be a very complex idea, but actually it's not. So when you just tease out, then it's actually easy to understand. So here. So you just heard the sound, and right there, depending on where you are coming from, you have already engaged the first in this, the second in this, and the third in this. Okay, let's dissect a little bit. The first is the icon is immediate physicality. So what just heard is that some kind of physicality. Now this is rather natural because you immediately recognize the women's scream, but you already go too fast. Just before that, you have heard it's a sound of its physicality, it's energy movement in time. So that's the first is icon. But almost always we move from icon to the index very quickly. So what is the index? Oh, that's women's scream. Okay. So from first is the icon, the index, we move really quickly. So think about the speed, how we move there. So it's a physicality of the sound that we listen to, and immediately it moves to the women's scream. And then, not all of you, but probably some of you, recognize that that's actually from the Alfred Hitchcock's film cycle. So that's the science system that Peirce mentioned. There are many things that we can talk about this. This icon, index, symbol. A couple of points. Usually, when you think about the sound, how sound works in our brain, in our mind, it starts from icon, index, symbol, right there. That natural movement of icon, index, symbol, but sometimes it can be reversed. Now this reversing is really very strange, very peculiar. So imagine that when you listen to the sound of that particular sound, and you listen to it, and then immediately you recognize that women's scream. And then from the women's scream, then you recognize, that's from the film cycle. Now that you have arrived at the third list, it is really difficult for you to go back. For you to go back to the second list, but a bit easier. And you can still remove that cycle away, your image away from it. You can focus on the women's skin. That's easier. But much difficult to go back to the interpretation. So when you think of sound and sound system in this direction, the directionality of this travel from a icon, index, and symbol. And think about the reverse direction is always not easy. That happens a lot. So when you are when I'm in Istanbul or in Jakarta, of course for me, not living in the Muslim country, the things that we listen to in every specific part of time in the day is the Ajahn and the religious songs or sites. When I listen to it, where am I? I'm symbol. I'm recognizing symbol, but not the same symbol as you would recognize. But sometimes symbol. You can go back to the first list, second list. You can go back to first list. So in some sense, I'm more malleable because I'm not so tied into this cultural background. But for those who are embedded in their cultural background, it might be quite difficult for you to go back to first list. It's like listening to for me to listen to and hear a Indonesian language. I can never go to third list. Symbol does not apply because I have no way of doing this in symbolic system. But I can certainly do the first list, second list. But for you, probably difficult to travel back to the first list when you listen to how people say in Indonesia. So these are systems that we readily work when we listen to sound. I want to go fast. So when we are engaged in sound and listening in this way, we got to remember, of course, that not everyone is as readily moving from first list and second list and third list like you do. So usually when we are moving from the icon to index, number of the people, so we combine ourselves with the human beings. Number of people who will move from icon to index gets smaller. And when we are moving to the third list, the symbols, even smaller number of people get to understand and get to appreciate, get engaged in the sound. You see the conundrum here is that when we are trying to work on a certain sound, assuming that everyone understands cycle, and then play with the sound in that system, and then play the sound to others who have no idea what that film cycle means. Then you say, this is the sound from film cycle, and the other person doesn't understand it at all because they are listening has not moved into the third list. There's no way for them to move into the third list. In listening, this happens quite a lot. We call it politics of exception. We think that everyone recognizes this sound, everyone exercises this kind of listening. and we normalize, say 80%, we think 80% people are listening this way. And then those who are not listening in that way, the less than 20% is that what we call exception. In listening, this happens quite a lot. And for those who are exercising in the listening in this exceptional way, they are considered exception and not included. They are disregarded. If you take a look at this is an analogy. Right? We also often understand sound is its fundamental frequencies and local partials. So we have a fundamental frequencies, and the partials are moving mounted all together, and when you get beautiful pitch sound, like my voice. This was my fundamental frequency and the partial sound. And those data or those sounds that are not well aligned with this fundamental frequency of the partials, what we call them? We call them nodes. So right there, whenever we are dealing with sound, we are listening, there's always exceptions of the law. There's politics of exceptions of the law. We tend to identify generally these areas where listening takes place, and those who don't listen or who can listen are those are considered exceptions, and we tend to disregard it. But there's a bit of a good things about being an exception. So in the past, and it's still the case, where if you find yourself you are being excluded in exception or noise, exception. Usually, that gives you quite a lot of freedom. So a lot of the guerrilla movements, or a lot of the minor movements do take place when in this space called noise, or this space of exception. So that's a really good case. My worry is that this AI. It's a large language model. So two things about large language models. The large language models, the way they work is they do not necessarily consider exceptions. They do not necessarily consider noise. What they do is that they just collect all the data. And then for the kind of ways that we don't understand, they come up with some kind of model, and this model keep getting better and better and better, and gradually including is a good word, assimilating otherwise what we call noise or what we call exception into the system. I think this is like a post-capitalistic system is working at its best. For those who study politics and the social system, how capitalism has expanded itself and then transformed itself is because it saw its limit, and by way of getting out of the limit is it keeps transforming itself. And one way for it transforming itself is assimilating those which that are not in itself. Large language models, AI development is something like that. And I'm very worried about that kind of this. Okay. Now, this is another language. I will stop. Okay. Where am I? So what we have discussed so far is that when we initially thought that future listening is a rather strange word, so how about we change it to future sound? That seems a bit clear. So then the next question was that what is sound? And then we looked at a couple of attempts. One is that looking at the sound its physicality, or how do we see the physicality by visual representation? That's one way. But we know that it's not sound. And actually, that's really kind of really bad way of objectifying sound. Okay. Put that aside. Then, okay, try to understand sound and its symbolic sign system. But then we quickly recognize that this sign system works in certain ways, and its way of working, it exercises politics of exception all the time, all the time. Why this is the case? Is because when we objectify sound, we exclude something that is really important. That is that I who listens, or you who listen, or we who listen. Whenever we objectify sound, we seem to remove that list, those people, those who listen. So then we can think about how. Then let's think about our listening, and then our power of listening and the relation to sound, and think about how does sound exist? How does sound exist? And the answer that I have is sound appears when we listen. Sound appears when we listen. It's not that sound exists and then we listen, rather sound may or may not exist. But then somehow sound appears when we listen. Okay. Sound appears when we listen. If you think about it, and this has some interesting relationship with what most of you know very well from John Cage. There's no such thing as silence. I will explain to you the connection between the sound appears when we listen and then John Cage's idea of there's no such thing as silence. So, I hope that you know John Cage. By now he's a rather old guy, where he passed away. So John Cage has this famous, well-known for words, a piece called 4 minutes 33 seconds. I just want to know, you all know, do you all know 4 minutes 33 seconds? So this piece is where he has written a score, Act 1, Act 3, Act 2, Act 3. There's nothing, there's no score. Act 1, do nothing, Act 2, do nothing, Act 3, do nothing. The score is like that, and it's up to the performer to bring the score, and whatever he or she wants to do. Only thing is that the performer does not make any sound. So it was performed in 1952. It was a premiere, and the performer was David Tudor. So David Tudor, what he did was that he took the score, and there was a piano. It happened to be piano, but it can be anything else. It can be cello, it can be choir, it can be any kind of instrument, or it can be scattered drums or whatever. But David Tudor came, and he sat down, first act. Open the piano lid and stay there for a while. Watch the time pass away. The second act, the lid was stay there. In the act 3, he closed the piano lid, and act 3. And there was a 4 minutes and 33 seconds. So when it was premiered, people were excited because they knew John Cage. He was already quite famous. many people came, and it's some kind of church actually. And people started waiting. 4 minutes, 33 seconds should be so long. People sitting here and start talking. What's going on? It's a sick world. And other people there, some people, they recognize what John Cage was doing, and they start laughing. Other people got upset and they stood up and they walked away. So it was notorious first premium performance. So after that, Cage got a lot of criticism from not only the critics but also very close friends. That what you did was so cute, but that's so absurd, and then you are not doing anything at all. And that happened. He explained what really happened. This is what he said. They missed the point. And then here's this wonderful quote. There is no such thing as silence. But they thought the silence, because they didn't know how to listen, was full of accidental sounds. You could hear the wind stirring outside during the first movement. During the second, raindrops began pattering in the roof. And during the third, the people themselves made all kinds of interesting sounds as they talked or walked up. So here said, I think what John Cage was saying is that no. People thought that there's no music, there's only silence. No, there's no such a thing as silence. If you think about it, listen to it, and there's always sound there. Always sound there. This is a wonderful idea. And then if you think about it, not all of a Cage's project, but chunk of a Cage's project has to do with that. To do what? To do with in order for him to demonstrate and show that really there's no silence. Now, if you think about this idea, initially, that's a wonderful idea. Of course, there's no sound. You stop. I stop talking. Of course, June is silent. But then that's a silent. But then there's no silence. Sounds are everywhere. If you care to listen. So this is a wonderful idea. So I thought for a long time. But then again, if you keep thinking about it, this is really so this I have fear for this word. Now think about it. There is no such thing as silence. What if we want silence? What if we want silence? But he said there's no silence. There's only one way to have silence. When you die. So this is it's like that. So if you know Cage's work, if you explore his work in the world, he is a very soft poet, meaning that he talks like this. I will show you. I will mimic him a bit later. He's a soft talker. He's a wonderful thinker. He's a wonderful composer. But his project is always ambivalent. One way it's wonderful, it's fascinating, beautiful. On the other hand, so pessimistic. There's no such thing as silence, something like that. So that's my thought. But I don't know how you think about it. So, yes. Sound appears when you listen. Sound appears when you listen is exactly what Cage was talking about. There's no such thing as silence. Why? Because we listen. Okay. Our listening is a great desire. Often, particularly when you live in a very chaotic city like Jakarta, you may think that, sometimes I don't want to listen. No, you want to listen. Usually, human beings are so desire of listening. So this listening is very embedded to our human beings. Listening is a desire. When we desire something, you will make sound. That's what I meant by sound appears when we listen. Now we got to be very careful about this listening activity. When we go out with the I don't think but let's say this is a small digital recorder, digital sound recorder. As soon as you take it, you feel like, oh, I have this job to go out and record. Well, you are not just recording. You are recording and you collect. You remember when just a few slides before, what we did was, of course, we have our equipment to go out and collect sound. It's very natural to human being. When we listen, we have a desire to go out and record, listen to it, and then collect sound. It's very connected. It was all okay until late 19th century when we developed this sound technology. As soon as we develop sound technology, not only will be able for us to be able to listen so that sound appears. Sound appears everywhere because we want to listen. That was all okay. We didn't have the technology to record sound. Now that we have technology, what do? We start collecting. The worst case practice that you have witnessed is the ethnomusicologists bringing their work cylinders or recorders from the west to east, Indonesia, South Asia, and start what? They do what? They make sound appear because they want to listen. The desire of listening is so much. They come here, oh, this is so beautiful, so wonderful, fascinating. How do they feel that they came here? And then they have technology. Okay, I'm going to record more of this. They take all this, made an archive, and brought to the libraries. Those libraries are sitting there. Nobody's listening because that's the object. That's the object. Objectified sound because the way our desire to listen is the way technology. This is a vicious circle of our desire to listening and then technology all married together. And then what we have is monstrous sound archives that are sitting there and nobody's listening. Hence, so I'm going to jump because there's so much to say. I'm going to wrap it for him because it looks like I'm going to stop for a while. See, I prepared so much things. But I'm going back there. John Cage, when he premiered his piece on 4 minutes, 30 seconds, also called Silent Piece, 2 years before, he hadn't given a public lecture. And the lecture was about, the title of the lecture was nothing. So this is a beautiful lecture. And if you have a chance to read it, there's I think there's a book called Silence. It was published in 1961 or 62. There you can find it. What you see is the first page, and it sounds. So I will read it. I will read it as John Cage read it. Okay. So it goes like this. Every column is 1 second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So I'm forming because John Cage, the way he gave a lecture said he performed it. So I'm doing this. I'm here, and I have nothing to say. If among you are those who wish to get somewhere, let them live at any moment. What we require is silence. But what silence requires is that I go on talking. Give anyone thought or push. It falls down easily, stiffly. But the pusher, the push, produced an entertainment or a discussion. Shall we have another? Or we could simply decide not to have a discussion. Whatever you like. But now there are silences. And there are words help make the silence. I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it. And that is the poetry as I read it. This space of time is organized. We need not fear them silence. He goes on like this for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Performance itself is wonderful because it was designed to be not necessarily musical score, but rather, as he mentioned right from the beginning, what he did was that he needed silences. I don't know why, but he needed silence. So to produce silence, he had to talk. This is a very interesting idea. But the one that I want to focus on is this part. I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it. And there's poetry as I read it. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Think about it. The space of time is organized. We need not fear these silences. I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it. So I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it. Mouse. So John Nancy did say that sorrow sense is first and most of all is a Christ of self. Sorrow senses. What is a sorrow senses? Sorrow senses are senses that have to do with the sound. What senses do have to do with the sound? Mouth and ear. John Nancy said that mouth or ear are creating the crisis of self. So that's another thought. That was another rabbit hole. I'm not going to go into it. And then he said that I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it. Why? You see, mouth has a desire to say things. And then ears has the desire to hear things. These are all in hand in hand. So here, we have this dialogue of, I have nothing to listen to, but I'm listening. Because I know that as soon as I'm listening, there will be sound. Well, what kind of sound is this? What kind of sound is this? In 2024, there's a small but amazing, significant book was published by a Dylan Robinson. It's called Hungry Listening. This Hungry Listening is the author is telling how the Westerners from England, they all came in 1700-ish, where the east side in Canada, they were all in hungry. They were literally hungry because they've been on the ship for a long time looking for the better place. They thought that India, but no, they didn't think of India. They went to North America. When they arrived, they all hungry, literally hungry. So people who lived there, they were so kind, so welcoming that they gave food. And then they call these Westerners hungry people. So, as I mentioned before, the desire of our listening in this book is connected with this hungry, sense of hunger. The listening, the desire, always try to appear, have the sound appear. As soon as they appear, we have technology, we connect them, and that is something that happening in our listening. This is the biggest anecdote that I can get into. Perhaps something that many of you have thought about when you were coming to the lecture. That I would say that listening is bad. No, I'm not saying it's bad. So I have to clarify myself. I'm not saying that listening is bad, but I think we need to understand how listening works. Right now, especially with the technology. And a few examples that I've shared with you regarding John Cage warning, there is no such thing as silence. Although he didn't say it as a warning, I take it as a warning. The second is that all this listening practice that has taken place since the late 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century, development of technology, the way things are going, what is the future of listening has to do a lot with this. Recognizing and understanding our behavioral listening. Listening has definitely changed since the late 19th century. We are a product of that listening practice. And what is going to happen in the 20 years from now on really depends on how we understand technology and how we understand the way we listen. I think I will stop here because I have a lot more to do, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John, for the presentation. Very inspiring. And before I give to the audience for the question, I have a question. First, it's about the idea of the exercising listening. Is it possible to exercise our listening for increase the power of assistance? Because you before you said that how this holistic system determine our way of listening. How this exercising of listening can change or give a different way, different direction of our assistance in the system.
It's so much um, I think despite what has happened to our listening since the late 19th century with the development of liquid technology, I still think that listen is among many other tools that are available to us as a human being. Listen is the one tool that really we can beat the system, if you will. Because um, perhaps visual or other senses work in similar way, but because I'm the one who think about listening all the time, listening requires time. So, and time is the resources. Time is the resources that we need to protect the most. So the reason I'm saying is that let's take a moment to think about how capitalistic society works. Capital economy works is that what capitalism has done, as far as I understand it, is all the resources have become capital. And then the way all the resources are directed in certain ways. And these resources initially the actual physical resources, but then particularly move toward the human aid and also and human relations But what is the most precious resource that we are all fighting for? Is time. So I'm not a pickup, I'm not an instrument, but in the I was I would say this in this. What people or one of the this mobile program, technology, what they does is that it continuously roll all the time. And not only it is rolling out time, so because this is the most precious resource, also it is trying to control the way we use. The interview from someone who developed this user interface, the website of this street open up the mobile. So he said that he regrets he developed this technology. So he said you said you think it's simpler that if we go to the website or Facebook or whatever, that we are now so accustomed to the split through. But this split through is very decisively UI user interface to keep us stuck to it. And why? Because it needs our time. More than anything else, I can repeat myself, more than anything else, time is the most precious resource that we are all fighting. And this technology is what's true. Now, listening also requires more than anything else, listening requires. So in order for us to listen to each other, we need to give time to the others to lend our ears to listen. Or if you go to a certain place and you experience that place, you need time to listen to. Hence, if we use our listening practice, we can call it meditations, or you can call it situated listening, or you can call it listening varying, or whatever we do. If we are able to exercise listening and recognize that we are using our precious time to listen, then it will become really good thing for us. And it can really fit the system. Let's say, yeah. But I think there's a great possibility in pushing this.
Ada pertanyaan? Any question from the audience? Jika belum, mungkin dari belakang dulu, dari maybe from colleague first. So mention your name and your profession, provide then question. Please, Pak.
Boleh Pak, saya tidak ada nih. Ya. Ya. Aku tertarik dengan apa yang di propose atau didorongkan oleh Suk-jun ini Profesor ini. Dengan mengamati apa yang terjadi belakangan ini itu tentang bagaimana suara bahwa bunyi dan ruang akustik itu bahwa seringkali kita merasakan bahwa ruang dengar atau bunyi atau akustik yang kita dengar itu diatur oleh rezim. Gitu. Namun mungkin juga bisa jadi terjadi semacam akustik accident, kecelakaan akustik di mana bahwa negara kita tidak terlalu mengatur keluarnya bunyi atau infrastruktur dari ruang akustik sendiri atau bunyi itu sendiri, sehingga menghasilkan kecelakaan bunyi yang akhirnya mempengaruhi kita semua hingga saat ini gitu. Sehingga Ya, aku rasa bahwa apa yang diajukan oleh Suk-jun tentang future of listening gitu atau mendengar gitu itu adalah salah satu cara kita kembali bagaimana eh, bahwa mendengar itu adalah suatu yang dasar dan penting untuk mengatasi bagaimana kita seringkali mengalami kecelakaan akustik gitu di yang sering kita alami. Kalau aku mengingat sendiri bahwa aku dulu pernah eh, di Jogja gitu ikut literatur tentang selamat Abdul Syukur gitu, dia mengenalkan teori dia minimax gitu, di mana dengan minimal apa bunyi gitu tapi dia menghasilkan maksimal gitu, suara mendengar itu maksimal gitu, dan dia juga lebih banyak eh, mengajarkan komposer itu untuk lebih banyak mendengar daripada menghasilkan suara, sehingga eh, apa mungkin dia juga mengajarkan bagaimana tentang kita lebih peka terhadap bunyi. Karena kalau yang aku lihat misalnya kayak di Serbia di terakhir kali bahwa di sana ada eh, demonstrasi anti korupsi gitu, kemudian eh, kalau nggak salah di situ ada rejim yang menggunakan aparat yang menggunakan mobil Sonic gitu yang kemudian menyerang demonstran. Kemudian juga di konflik Thailand dan Kambodia itu suara hantu gitu. Dia mengganggu secara psikologis gitu. Jadi aku merasakan bahwa uh, bunyi itu memiliki dampak secara psikologis tapi juga memiliki dampak secara fisikal gitu. Tapi kita kemudian setelah mendengar kita juga perlu melihat secara struktur bagaimana bunyi itu dibentuk gitu. Uh, dan yang terjadi di Indonesia itu bahwa rasa-rasanya kayak misal gedung DPR gitu kan itu sangat jauh gitu ya dengan pagarnya gitu, itu juga itu salah satu suara yang akhirnya semakin tersaring, semakin mengecil, sehingga uh, uh, suara-suara yang kita masyarakat resahkan itu tidak sampai ke sana, sehingga mungkin memang full of listening adalah salah satu bentuk kemudian kita lebih kembali mendengar sekitar gitu. Mungkin tanggapan dari seperti itu.
Yeah, only for give impression to your presentation. It was particularly in your presentation. We observed that sound often we feel that the listening space is controlled by the Beijing, he said, but also that there is a kind of acoustic exceeding in some contexts and in some situations that the states, because the states does not regulate like the sound infrastructure, because the infrastructure is not good, so it was sometimes a situation that happen sound exceeding, say. So I think that your presentation was one way that to understand that the listening is important to realize about this kind of situation. He also told us that he wants to attend a lecture by Abdul Syukur in Yogyakarta. Uh, uh, Abdul Syukur talking about at the time about how by minimal sound, but he also hearing maximal hearing. And also he mentioned about the Serbia context, about there was a demonstration that the police used the sonic power to start the demonstration. And only thing is that this means that the sound has a impacts to us psychologically, physically, and also structurally. And then he also mentioned about the demonstration that happened in Indonesia about the parliament buildings, which the gate is so far from the main building, so south of the press cannot hear by the representative.
So yeah, and that's a valid respond to your presentation.
Thank you so much. So, I, maybe a couple of points that the respond. That is kind of yeah, and you already have really wonderful elements to you added to my lecture, so I'll add a couple more. So you mentioned that the minimal sound and that is maximally. I think that's probably true. So we all know that there's a minimal music for in classical, whatever classical or minimal what we call minimal music. It started 1940s, 1960s, 70s, mainly in east side of the New York area with people like start with John Case, was very much and Terry Young and all those people. And then we know that Steve Reich and people who start this minimal music. And and I know that they didn't like the word minimal music because they didn't think that their music was minimal. So so I think they are right because yes, the components, if you listen to any of minimal music, the components are, yes, sparse and minimal in that way. But but we're talking about the sound materials, but in our listening, there's so much going on, but there's so much to grow in when you listen to so-called minimal music. So in that way, minimal music is exciting us with the maximum listening. So minimal music I think that's what you mentioned, probably mentioned. The second is that uh, I didn't go through my lectures, although I had prepared the slides. But I think I realized at the time was that if we understand sound appears when we listen, if that's true, then you can have a sound appear by controlling the way other people listen. So listening, listening has been a platform in which many forces have been fighting with each other to, to take, as you said, regime. Right? So the listening is where many regimes are fighting. And we have seen many cases like this. As you also mentioned that demonstration is the one way to see that the people with a different ideas are when they are colliding together, yes, the difficulties eventually will be there, violence will be there, but even before any kind of physical violence happens, there's already acoustic violence are taking place. Both parties are bringing the bigger speaker to it, and they are bombarding their sound in whatever their soundscape they have. They try to overcome the other components, their acoustic space. So more than anything else, listening is in that context. Yes, it's trying to cover what they are going to listen, or what I'm going to listen. Then it can be a lot louder. The better speakers, bigger speakers. Sometimes if people don't have speakers and they bring out any kind of noise of that. I've seen many demonstrations where they bring out not the speakers but the other noise making things. They just blast their noise. Why they do it? It's because they know that inherently acoustic space where political elements can crack flex. And to win that particular element, they need to control how other people are influenced. That that is happening all the time. And one more thing to add is I mentioned this to someone programmatic before. My first time I ever listened to Azam public space that was discovered in 2019. Before that, I had not traveled to other Muslim countries. And when I first listened to that Azan, I believe it was a 3 p.m.-ish. I was walking on PJ Street, and suddenly I hear the song, and the first emotion that I got was the violence. I felt, the physically being attacked. Because I had my background in Christianity, but I'm not practicing right now. Because I know how religion works, I think. And then when I listened to the song, it was almost physical violence. Because that's the religious acoustic space is invading my personal space, and it was loud. So right there, is a good example where listening is a platform where all forces are fighting each other to gain access and gain control.
Next, tadi Juan, nanti baru.
Oh, sorry, I just add that now I love Azan so much. I know many of you that I missed this many times. So beautiful and so calming. I love the 3 a.m. Azan.
So we in the Azan or we continue?
Oh yes, I think the 3 a.m. in the morning when I listen to Azans, especially that's when the traffic is not much traffic, so you can differentiate it, each element in the traffic. So right now, if you go out, traffic are a mess. So they go is a mess. So it's impossible to listen. But 3 a.m. So Azan's going on like mirage, but it's air, like smoke, beautiful smoke going by. And then once in a while you hear lonely motorcycle out the road. And you can visualize. There's a picture of each sound is making line in space. Think about it. This is a wonderful moment. And no wonder why the get leaders, especially 3 a.m. in the morning, get to hear a sound. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you with Azan in the morning. Yes, thank you. And I'm Juan. I am from West Borneo. Especially I live in the Singkawang city, and I'm a musician, traditional musician, and experimental musician, and composer, and the instrument user. So thank you about this lecture, because it's very touched me from be myself, because my way to research about the music is something like I use my human unity to recognize the around me. So this is something like recall my memory again and make me something like what's this? Make a thinking very deep to listening again about the we use the here to know each other, something like this. And I like the rabbit hallway because it's very interesting. And I just to respond about the water issue with your project. I don't know. I forget where you use the water issue on your project, but I'm thinking about because this year I what overlap in the Amsterdam, I collaborate with Dave, and we talk about the water issue, especially the war, it's like this. And I'm thinking about the water issue in your hometown, something like that. It's very effective with the climate crisis or anything. Yeah, it just curious about that. And thank you.
Thank you so much. So thanks for your question, because that gives me a complete of our water knowledge project. I realized that I haven't given you a proper context. Before that, just quickly comment on what you said. I believe you said that you use your body to listen. That a that that's wonderful. So um, first of all, I'm not trying to be nostalgic, but a before technology, listening for us has always involved our body but also language. So if you think about it, when you are someplace or when you are talking to others, and then sometimes you say you listen to wonderful, you had a wonderful experience in listening. What do? You didn't have technology. What do? You talk. You say, "Oh, so I've been to this place, and that's so wonderful place. Let's go together." Or if it's too far away, then you come back and then you talk to your folks or your family, friends, and then so I've been to this place, it's a wonderful place. And then you try as best as possible to relate to that you have explained, but that's the best you could do because you cannot take your part and take part of what part of your listening directly like that. So it's not possible. But that was okay, that was good. We all happy with it. Technology is wonderful because now if you're there, you have to have a mobile phone or digital recorder. Oh, it's assemble it. Then you go back. No need to talk, just listen. So that's wonderful. I mean, I'm no doubt about it. But what we have lost is that the other part. Because you don't need, you no longer need to talk, you no longer need to discuss, you no longer need to, for you to transform your listening oral experience to your linguistic expression. We no longer need to do that. So I'm wondering what have we lost in that introduction? That's something I'm curious. Okay, so that's also and then what to knowledge. Okay. Our project what to knowledge. So what to knowledge from cities is try to a it starts from a particular problem. The problem is that a in many communities where water has been a big issue, there has always been many research have been done. Also, government, local or central government have designed and implemented water-related policy to better the situation or resolve the situation completely or to make their community members' lives better. It seems like in some communities these policies or these implementations do not work. And then we question why these policies do not work. And our premise, our research, our team premise is that it seems like a water knowledge embedded in this policy, then water knowledge that local communities seem to have, they do not meet. We don't know why, but it seems like they do not talk to each other. Or in other times, water knowledge embedded in this policy should be so overpowering and coming from the top with all these authorities. And that seems to suppress and will undermine local water knowledge. And that has failed. And time again. So our question is that should we listen to water knowledge embedded and hidden and in these local communities? And sometimes this water knowledge they come about and get activated when the crisis hits because they need to survive, they need to grab water. Right? They need to move all the stuff from the first floor to the second floor very quickly because water is coming. Something like a very habitual way of understanding water seems to be just get activated and they get educated from the one generation to another generation without clear systemic process. So what we are trying to do is try to listen to that such water knowledge, and then bring that about better literate sound appears when we listen. Right. So we are trying to listen to this local water knowledge so it appear. And then once that appears, we can share this local water knowledge amongst within the local community because sometimes the local community they don't talk about water even though there's an issue with water. Right, so talk about it and then potentially possibly with this local water knowledge appear all the time so that it will create a channel of communication, conversation between those who implement plans, design, policies, those policies are being implemented into this country. That's how it goes. I know it's ambitious, and 18 months long, 18 months is not enough. So the way I see it is that we have to start it. We have just developed our methods, artistic method, Lianjing method, and then see if this is working, and then we have some hope. And the next is that we'll expand it. This requires funding, obviously, and we'll expand this project to other communities. And the water is not only issue in Jakarta, and in your community, but also in many Southeast Asia, the Chiang Mai, for example, the Kuching cities, for example, anywhere you go, especially Southeast Asia and Africa, and also the Middle East, where the water, especially drinking water, is the biggest problem there. Water is being used as a weapon against one country to another. So there are many possibilities that I think our methods can help people. Help them make sense.
Okay. Next, two last question ya. Ini dulu.
Okay. Hello. My name is Grace. I used to be a singer and musician. My husband also composer and traditional musician. But in this decade, my focus art is in photography. Now I'm studying master in psychology and often engaged with therapeutic photography where the process of listening people from their story from photography. So I'm very curious when you record sound and you compose them. It's not just about what we hear, but how we perceive and internalize them. How does this psychoacoustic process relate to the way we curate, because I'm curator in here, our compose visual experience. Can we also think of curatorial writing or exhibition making us a kind of composition, a way of listening to space, image, and emotion? Okay, thank you.
So yes, but okay. I hope I understood your question. So I'll do my best based on my understanding. A So I probably I'm repeating myself to some because I mentioned this few times because I think it's really important. Um, a what is a composition? What I mean by a composition in the biggest sense, in any sense, whether you are a contemporary classical composer working with an orchestra, with the writing scores, or the pencil, or you are a composer of electric music, working with the electric equipment, making beats, or you are a composer of a traditional background with working with the local folk singers, or you are uh, um, a you are a conceptual composer of working with some very interesting experimental composition. Whatever a composition you're working, and the question you have to ask yourself is what is a composition? And I think that in the fundamental sense, composition is to share with others how I listen. So this is simple, but if you think about it, you will agree with me on this. What are you doing is that this is a romanticized image of Beethoven or Mozart listening to the sound from the dog, then transferring God's music to the that's very romanticized, and probably it's not how that most likely it's not how that works. But in something that's true, a composers I recommend maybe some quite a lot of you are composer. What composers do is that they have a very vivid oral images, or they try to gain images. How they get oral images is through listening to many other things. Maybe they are they're trained instrumentalists, and they get the piano or guitar, and they just noodle, see what comes, and then they listen. They thought it was wonderful. What do? They like to share. So in the simple sense, that is what composition means. Share with others how I listen. So the question is that there are two things. Share with others. That's techniques. So technique part is there. Then the other part is that how I listen. So if you're a composer and you don't know how you listen, then you are in big trouble. Because you definitely need to know how I listen. And then the next question follows that why I like this kind of listen. There must be a reason why I like this kind of listen. And they go into kind of a study of a study. So, but you deep down that's study that. To get back to your question that a curating beautiful work, curating sounds in a composing that's great. And Edgar Perez, the late 19th early 20th century composer, did say that composition is organized sound. I agree. But of course, to organize sound, you need to know how you listen. So that's that. A curate, it means it doesn't mean that overnight. We think that curate is organized and they classified and so. No, but curate is original meaning is not organized, but rather curate is care. You care. You take care of the things that you work with. So another element of competition is that when you share with the others how I listen, you of course, when things that you share with care, you don't do this like, hey, just have a listen. They don't care. Yeah, okay. If you are a square, suppose that maybe this is not a me, just have listen. I don't care. Oh, no, this is your proposal, and you do care, with what you're supposed to share with others. That care, that curate, goes hand in hand. Um, was that, is it, is your question, and am I, that is the new question?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Yeah, to curate is to care. It's not to only organize. That's
Thank you. Your presentation was really enlightening. So I just have a couple of questions about um, what are your take on empathic listening to one another, to nature, the destruction of nature, to non-human, animal, and all of that, but still have resilience in the capitalism in our world right now, and still being what's so-called critic or being active activism. So that also leads to this question that does listening imply passivity or is it an act actually? And this is just sort of like my personal question. What's your take on what's so-called sound healing right now? It's so trending everywhere. Sound as an medium of healing. Oh, yeah, my name is Kiri. I'm one of the artists here.
So the question is that the in the characteristics within so the what is the situation of our listening, and also you did mention the critiquing.
Yeah.
and also the facility, the passive listening and active listening sounding.
Oh, this is oh wonderful.
What's this?
So that's those two things that I wanted to talk about, but then I skipped. Right, so I'm not spend too much time, but see the what is it? Some people, not some people, even by fellow composers, which especially next composers, hopefully say, not just here, listen. Okay. So here, what I think what is proposed is that do not engage the listener passively, but engage listen actively. Now, I agree to that approach of certain thing. I take the issue of this dichotomy, especially in the English, and I'm not sure in Indonesia you do have this kind of dichotomy where the different words to express different ways of listening. For example,
We have.
right? Because I'm curious because that here, in English, it's very decisive. You either hear or you listen. So here is that it's happened for here. Did you hear that? It means getting text, right? I'm listening. Is mind. I'm not focusing. Very active. Yeah, I follow. I follow with that. There's a medic there. But I think that this hearing listening divide, this divide is at some point it becomes a problem where that passive listening and active listening. Yes, sometimes we engage in passive listening, sometimes we engage in active listening, but those are that different? Because I'm now questioning. And also when we hear things, we get to hear things so much things. And often in listening, there are many things happening subconsciously. But that subconscious thing is that it's not, we are not necessarily really engaging. So what is activity here? Because activity requires that we are now engaging our cerebral capacity to the full maximum, right? Well, I think that listening is not only that. Listening is that you walk by in the street and then you just street and the traffic coming over and you're trying to understand what you friends are saying. But then it's so difficult to hear what he's saying because the traffic is there. And all of this is listening, and depending on how you listen to it, is what you hear is also important. So now what I'm trying to do is that is there any way we can collect this the just between hearing and listening in the way we engage listening, can we collect that idea altogether that there's only one listening? Yes, there's a great value in you, and there's a great value in listening. One is no better than the other. So can we work on that? Can we work on that? Maybe. So I don't know if this makes sense.
Yes,
to you, but
yes,
it's
very
like,
much, thank you.
Yes. And the other one, thinking is yes, again, I'm so sorry that I have to just that so a critic level, critic level of the here how you approach critic, because I didn't know that, so I should be very cautious and the careful about this. But usually this is not my view, whether Burlatur is a bird is okay. So bird now I don't know how many of you know Burlatur. If you don't know him, I strongly suggest that you pick one or two of his books or articles and start reading. He's a guy who recently passed away, but he's a person who developed this theory called actor network theory. So it seems that there's no hierarchy within all of us. When he says no hierarchy, it's not just human beings, but all beings. It calls that actor. So I'm an actor, you are an actor, this water is an actor. So in some sense, it's very early days of the object ontology person, where everything is object. I'm an object. No, I'm not a subject. I'm a very actually a object or subject. But I'm an object, this is object, you are object, everything is object, object. Also, he said that everything is black, meaning it's a black but for the black ontology. So when everything is a black, then you'll see that yes, there is a system there, but it's not a transcendent system. It's not really transcendent system. The not transcendent system that transcendent of the histories was certainly developed like human dismantled and the other system human dismantled. So what you do is not try to quickly meaning that assuming that there's already a system there, then we dissect, discover, uncover. That's kind of very scientific kind of approach. And Roland Ford was very critical about scientific methodology. He thought that scientific methodology generates knowledge. It's not like a scientific methodology uncovers knowledge. Scientific methodology generates knowledge. That has a huge problem for scientists if you think about it. But so rather than critiquing, because critiquing requires that there's a system there. So let's not do that. What we do is we are going to compose. Composing is what it means that an actor, you are an actor, you get together, engage, okay, and then you share, and then we require another actor, engage. Now what we're doing is we are composing. Now this happens, I witness this happens a lot. For example, all methods. When you guys are working together, I see that happen. When I got to know romantic people, I see that happen. We are composing. So that in that regard, I propose that from critiquing to compose. I hope that, yes, that's very much clear.
Yeah, thank you, Jun. Finally, we have we arrived to the end of the session, and give applause to Jun. Terima kasih Jun. Terima kasih Jun. Teman-teman, jangan lupa nanti setelah ini masih ada kelas dari ya, dari Hafiz. Oh iya, kita berfoto dulu. Ya. Ya, kita ambil foto dulu sama-sama sama audiens.
Oh,